Welcome back to CBS News Primetime. We want to return to our top story. The 45th president of the United States, Donald Trump, has been indicted over his handling of classified documents. He is now the first former president in U.S. history to face federal charges. Former President Trump responded with a video on social media.
I'm an innocent man. We will prove that again. 7 years of proving it, and here we go again. Very unfair.
And now let's bring in Reuters White House correspondent Jeff Mason. Jeff, let's review the bidding. Remind us how these documents even ended up at the former president's home and how we got here.
Well, that's a good way to start, John. And these documents came after President Trump served 4 years in office and was asked by the Department of Justice to turn over any documents that had ended up at Mar-a-Lago, his home in Florida, and then was accused of not doing so. And more documents were found, and that has spiraled into what we're seeing today. It's interesting to me to see not only President Trump's reaction, but also to think about the political consequences for him as he runs for re-election, for the opponents who are running against him for the Republican nomination, and for President Joe Biden, who will no doubt tomorrow probably try to be silent about this. And I can just imagine all of my colleagues who are traveling with him to North Carolina tomorrow will try to ask him about it. But this is not only a legal story, it is a political story, and it is a social story.
And having covered President Trump, as you did, I remember you asking an important question about whether the president would abide by the Electoral College vote, which is a part of the other part of Jack Smith's investigation. But does the response from the former president to this track with your experience having covered him?
Absolutely. And yeah, I did ask him about that, and that did not go over well. And that's just been an example of the many mistruths and denials that he has made about his own conduct and his policies and his positions for 7 years. I mean, you asked if it tracks. I mean, him saying that this has been 7 years of him having to prove himself an innocent man underscores the fact that it's been 7 years of controversy and, in some cases, legal peril. And that legal peril has come to a head here. But you're also right to mention Georgia. I mean, I think another headline tonight could be more to come. We don't know what else is going to come out of the other investigations, but this is just one. And it's all coming as he's running for re-election. And it's a critical and historic moment.
Indeed. Reuters White House correspondent Jeff Mason, thanks for being with us, Jeff.
My pleasure.
Senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe is on his phone there, reporting, as always. It's very nice to see you, Ed, after being on the phone with you. What are the other candidates saying?
Well, we've had a few statements come in, John, from those in the field. Perhaps the most predictable is that from former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson, who just a little while and has been a chief critic of the former president, urging him to get out of the race. He reiterates that tonight, saying that Donald Trump's actions, from his willful disregard for the Constitution to his disrespect for the rule of law, should not define our nation or the Republican Party. This is a sad day for our country. While Donald Trump is entitled to the presumption of innocence, the ongoing criminal proceedings will be a major distraction. This reaffirms the need for Donald Trump to respect the office and his campaign. Other Republican contenders, however, lesser known than the former president and some of his top rivals, also weighing in. Vivek Ramaswamy, the 37-year-old business executive who's been catching wind in the early primary states, weighing in a little while ago, saying in part, quote, "We cannot have two tiers of justice, one for Trump on government document retention, another for Biden, one for Assange, another for Manning, one for BLM Antifa, another for peaceful protesters on January 6th. I never thought we would see the day when the U.S. president deputizes the DOJ to arrest his lead rival in the middle of an election." These are quite inflammatory comments by these Republican contenders, but it speaks to the concern, to the opposition, to the anger that a lot of Republican voters have across the country. Remember, the president was asked about this earlier today in a news conference with the British Prime Minister. What would he say to those who are concerned that the Justice Department is being used for political means? The president somewhat angrily responded, pointing out that he had never once, quote, "not one single time suggested to the Justice Department what they should do or not do relative to bringing a charge or not bringing a charge. I'm honest." That was his way of saying, in essence, The former president meddled in Justice Department affairs all the time. The current president, he argued, does not. And in fact, we have asked the White House again tonight, when did the president learn about this? When did the White House learn about this? And several aides tell us that they were informed through media reports, as were most Americans. John.
Senior White House correspondent Ed O'Keefe. Thank you, Ed.